What's going on, guys? And thank you for tuning back in today for another deck profile. This time we have PX3's own Shannon Cole with his Sakazuki deck profile that he made top 64 with at the OCE One Piece Championships just over last weekend in Melbourne. Congratulations on that, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries, man. So we're gonna run through this deck profile quickly with you. Through your, obviously you did very well in the side event. You got top eight with it, going 7-1, and you did pretty well. I think you did, yeah, you did really well in the main event, going X and three as well. So yeah, man, fire it off.
Yeah, so it was a pretty fun day. I was pretty happy with the list that we took. So yeah, on the side event, so the day just beforehand, I think there was like 250 people, so about half of the main event. We went 7-1, and we came fifth place. On the main event, we lost three, which is a little bit unfortunate, but we still made top 64, which is decent. We went yeah, so X and three, and then on the third day we played the 3v3s, which there was actually a lot of good players and it was a pretty big event. And my team came second, and I only lost one game on that third day. So the list did pretty well over the 3 days. Um, Obviously, the actual championships was a little bit unfortunate. I'm pretty happy I took Sakazuki. I think it's a really flexible deck, and it's obviously such a contender for the OPO5 meta. I'm not going to go through every single card because I'm sure most people watching know what Sakazuki does and they know what the deck should look like. We're obviously running the Rob Lucci version of the deck. No one's really running the big boss monster versions anymore. The RHL combos, so the Rebecca, Hina, Lucci combo, it's so efficient on clearing. You get so many bodies on board and it just puts you so far ahead. But the main points of contention in the deck now that I'll probably go over my numbers is we're going to be looking at 3 cost Tina, is what I chose to run for an early drop. I also ran 10 cost Kaido. We also ran Sabo, which I think has become a little bit less of a contentious choice. But we also, I think my numbers that I have on my 4 cost units might be a little bit different to others. So we've got 4 cost Kuzan and 4 cost Borsalino. So I'll talk about all of this. We'll start with 3 Costina. So I chose to run 3 Costina because I think it's the best early drop and your best choice for giving you a little bit of an edge in the mirror. I think there's not too many cards you can actually add in this deck that I think really gives you an edge in the mirror because your best cards is your Rebecca, your Lucci, your Hina, your Houndblaze, and you just can't run more of these cards anyway. So I think there's only a little bit you can do, and that's pretty much adding Hina for going first. There are other cards that you can add in, like Sanji's Pilaf, but I just don't think that they do enough and they don't have counter. I found two to be enough. A lot of decks run three, but I think you've got 6 hits with brand new and Hina, which is plenty. You're not really placing Hina too much elsewhere. There definitely is a lot of spots you can do late game, but I don't think it's necessary. I think two is enough so that you can run more of other things.
Yeah.
Now looking at the Tentacles Kaido, some decks run zero, some run two, some run one. The reason I chose two for the day was because I really enjoy playing it into the Enel matchup, and I think enjoy is a big important word that I use there. I don't think it's needed for the Enel matchup, but I think it locks it in, and it makes the matchup so much easier. And I think on a 9 round day, when you're playing such a skilled deck like Sakazuki, it's actually really nice to have some rounds that you might be a little bit nervous in, or maybe you make one misplay and it goes wrong. It's nice to have a card that can actually sink in that matchup for you. And it actually gave me a lot of confidence going into the days. I actually didn't see a lot of Enel, so like if I knew what matchups I was going to be versing, I would probably have cut Kaido down to one or maybe even zero. But I think me taking it in on the day actually gave me a lot of confidence in versing those decks. It helped out with my mental, and it also made me feel really confident on the Enel matchups that I did verse. It really it meant that like there's no way I was losing those games. As well as I actually dropped it against a few other decks. Like I think I versed a Whitebeard where he didn't see enough rush cards, and I was able to drop it, and the game was just won from there. And in Sakazuki, you can run fun cards that you enjoy playing, and that can sink certain matchups in because of his leader effect. You get to throw a card and draw a card. The only downside, obviously, is I really find with running the Kaidos, you don't have counter, and you've got to think, what did you cut for it? And that moves on to the point that people probably wouldn't like about my list is I'm only running 5 of the 4 drops, so 2 Kuzan and 3 Borsalino. Um, I didn't really see it come up much in the day where I was missing these 4 drops, and the reason for that is I like to do a lot of mid game plays with Houndblaze and also Lucci. It can be a little bit greedy playing Lucci in the mid game because obviously if you lose it in the mirror, then you might be sort of stuck. But yeah, I like to use Houndblaze and Lucci in the mid game. So if you think about it, rather than having 5, actually not even just Houndblaze and Lucci, I like to play lots of brand news in the mid game as well. If you have multiple brand news, I'll play multiples of those. So if you think about it, for mid game plays, I've got 3 here, so that's 5. I've got more brand news, I've got Houndblaze, I've got Lucci. So I'm actually never finding it's if I don't hit a Borsalino or Kuzan, I'm usually got something else that I can play on those turns. So I'm usually doing okay. Um, if I was to change the list, I probably would definitely put up maybe Borsalino to a 4th, or depending on what other decks are running around, another Kuzan. But I think at the current stage with PCP being around and them running a lot of Pooley in that, I think another Borsalino is probably a better option. And the only reason I say that is because there's a few times where it's nice to just have another drop that you can place in conjunction. So like whether that's playing like a Lucci, if you don't have another Rebecca, like late game dropping Lucci with Borsalino, or playing a Houndblaze with a Borsalino can be nice. And if you're missing that piece, it's a bit unfortunate. Um, and then yeah, I think I said Sabo. I think people are just running more Sabo now. People are just they seem to see that it's a really good card. It sinks in the yellow matchups, so Katakuri or Anil. It just allows you to put on pressure without being scared of Thunderbolt, and it also means that you know they're not going to be able to lethal you because it's a 5 cost, so they can't use the event that rests a 4 cost, and they can't Thunderbolt it on the turn it was played. So it allows you to know that you're going to go an extra turn. It can also be pretty good against PCP if they're going to be dropping the 9 cost next turn. If it's a really good turn for them to drop 9 cost, then you play this. As well as in the mirror, if you're ahead, you can play. If you're ahead and you don't have many kill cards, you can just play this and go aggro, do some attacks, and it means they can't bring the game back with RHL.
So do you feel
Um,
Sabo is like a good number at 2, or would you up it?
Yeah, I wouldn't go lower than 2. You definitely
Yeah.
could up it, but I don't think you need to because you've got 2 Mantra, you run 4 Rebecca. Like I think you're gonna see at least 1 and then you can cycle it. I think the problem with only running 1 is it might be in like the bottom half of your deck. So I would say at least 2 for Sabo. I really like the card. Yeah,
Yep.
but I really thought the numbers were fine for the day. I don't think you need to stress about your numbers too much on Sakazuki. Like you need your Lucci, Rebecca, Hina combos. I think for the mirror, even more important than these 2 Hinas is Manshuri. If you miss your first drop going first, it's pretty rough, but I think it can come back. Ultimately so many games just get decided by who ends up playing best during the mid game, like if as long as you're making misplays, so that's dropping your Borsalinos, and then whoever runs out of Borsalino, like you actually start with more like Houndblaze. It's like you're Houndblazing, then you move on to Borsalino, then you move on to RHL, and it's whoever runs out of that. And you can't really add any more of these in the deck, so it's kind of the decisions you're making, like yeah, so there's not too much you can do for the mirror. Like on the day, I think I versed 12 Sakazuki mirrors, and I went 10 and 2 over the 3 days. I only lost 2 players. I think I'm probably saying this wrong, but I think Minky Huang, he ended up coming second overall on the Nats, so he's one of the players I lost to, and that was the only sucker I lost on Nats. And then on the 3v3, the one loss I had was to Ben Teo. He's a really good Singapore player who was playing Sakazuki, and I did miss a spot where I wasn't able to clear his Borsalino, and because I couldn't clear it, it meant that he just had an extra body when we were going back and forth with our like I play a 7, he plays a 7, I play a RHL combo, he plays, and I didn't have any way to get rid of the extra body, so he was asking 2 cards out of my hand while I was only asking 1 out of his hand. And I think against Minky Huang, I didn't see a single 3-cost Hina until maybe like the last turn where it was pointless. So they're both really good players, and I didn't see a piece. And those pieces, Houndblaze and Hina, I can't run any more of those. So I didn't feel like any of my choices, like it's not like because I had Kaido, I lost those matchups. It was because of pieces that I can't actually run any more of. And I don't think there's any cards that could really replace them. Like I mean, I guess you could argue that you add maybe like a Helmeppo in case you don't see a Hina or something, but not many decks are running those, so I don't like it's if you're cutting Kaido, you're usually adding in one of these other pieces, and I didn't really miss those throughout the day. But I think the list went really well. I think there might be some changes that need to be made for I think the meta's changing a bit with PCP, Purple Luffy being a lot more popular. So we saw Alan's list one. He used the 5 cost missile Sundays that we were seeing over in the EU as well, and I think that list is going to become a lot more popular. I think the ramping and drawing really helps you actually win the Sakazuki matchup. You get to be able to drop multiple bodies a lot quicker, as well as keeping your hand a bit more healthy. And so I think Sakazuki might start running into a few more problems with PCP. I never thought the matchup was that free to begin with if they used to be dropping multiple Magellans, but I think with the new list they might only need to see like one Sunday rather than seeing like the two Magellans. So I think if I was to change this list, I haven't been seeing the yellow players be as competent as I thought they would be, and not as many. So I'd probably be at least cutting Kaido down to one and running. I think another Ice Age is really great. Um, so we can run that card. And then I also think I might up the Borsalino again. So I think I'd have to take a time to look at the list, whether I drop the next Kaido to add in a Borsalino, or maybe I ask myself if I really need these Hinas, because they are great for the mirror, but I was already doing so well in the mirror, and I don't think you need them. But yeah, there's some thoughts to be made. Maybe some extra kill cards. It could be good against PCP. There is one card I'm not going to reveal at the moment that I think could be kind of cheesy against PCP, so I might test that card out, and if it does well, you might see that come up a bit later.
Yeah, look, we're excited to see that sort of spice in the deck from you, Shan. It's always good to see that you're testing a few new things, and yeah, like you said, with PCP on the rise and how good it's getting, and with the diversity from going from like the Magellans to the Missile Sundays, especially like you said in the European list that we saw that they were running. I believe it was a 2-2 split, right, with the Magellan and the Missile Sunday.
I
Um,
Yeah, I don't remember.
I believe it was
I
a
thought it was
2-2.
four,
Yeah, I
but
believe.
it could have been two.
Yep, yep. I believe it was a
And
two
and then
two.
And then recently, I think America just had a treasure cup where the person who won was running maybe like 4 Missile Sunday and 3 Magellan. So
Yep.
that's got a lot of the mid-game threats, which I think probably is really rough for Sakazuki. Probably very good against yellow as well. It might not. I don't see it being that great against the mirror though. I haven't tested it, so we'll have to see if that because if Purple Luffy becomes very popular, you've got to then start thinking about the mirror where you now have to run more 9 costs and 7 costs. So we'll see where the lists end up. If people end up trying to tech to just beat all the other decks, or if people do start respecting the mirror a bit more. I think it's a bit interesting. We saw PCP come in a bit later compared to the Asia meta, where they sort of had decks built just to beat the purple decks were built to beat just yellow as well as each other in the mirrors. But now, because Purple Leafy seemed to be not that strong, people thought, with our meta, but now they've been built to beat sort of Yellow and Sakazuki. So we'll see how they evolve, I think. It'll be interesting, and Sakazuki's going to have to answer. I think Ice Age is going to be the card, and then I think you're going to have to run more kill cards that are cheaper, because really, you need to be able to clear the whole board, and sometimes an RHL combo is not enough. You have to be at 8 Don to be able to cast it, or if you're doing just a flat Hina and Rob Lucci, and you're only negging 4 Don, and Lucci only kills a 2 and a 1. You might not have enough Don, and it might not be enough, so you're going to have to find some other cards that can actually clear everything on the board, otherwise Purple Leafy might just run you over. So,
Yeah, no, and that's 100% correct, as we saw in some of the matches where they would overextend their resources in hand to kind of deal with the opponent's board. When it came to PCP, if they got to their mid to late game and they had a good spread with like their queens and their missile Sundays or Magellans, and they actually played out a bit more of a larger board, Sakazuki found it a little bit more difficult to kind of get on top of that. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see where it does go for the future, man, when OPO 6 hits, right?
yep. And we
Yep.
got a few more events coming up before then, so we'll see how it all goes. And then I think Sakazuki's going to change for OPO 6 a bit because we get a few more fun toys like Gecko and the Searcher, so I think it'll be a powerhouse in the next deck. Interesting to see how it finishes off in this set, if other decks reign supreme, or if Sakazuki. It does seem to be called the more skilled deck, people like to call it. So I wonder if people do still find that it is actually the best deck when you've got a right pilot and the right build. So I'm interested to see which one sort of reigns supreme in the end.
100%, man. Very keen, very keen. We're all excited for it. So, yeah, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and your profile, man. It was really cool to see this list from yourself and your thoughts on it, and all your ideas on what you think is going to be, pretty much better for, or predictions for the future. So it's great. So yeah, any shout outs before we head off, my friend?
Yeah, just shout outs to everyone from PX3 that helped me test,
Yep.
as well as our partner team, Eternal Magic, who is also our sponsors. So check out their website if you do want any singles for One Piece, or they also sell stuff for Magic as well. I also want to thank that we had a few other boys like Terrence and Jonathan Wong who came out and tested as well with us. So Perth, we were all testing together. We had a pretty strong cohort. We had a few boys do really well, like Sal and Terrence, both of them top 16 on the day. So congratulations to them. Uh, and also thank you to Beyond Odyssey, who's our other sponsor. Check them out if you're ever in Perth. And yeah, it was just thank you for everyone that actually thank you to everyone on the day as well who came out and chatted. It was really welcoming, people saying hi, greeting me. Like everyone was so positive, fun to play with. It was a really good day over there in Melbourne. So yeah, thanks to
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, we all had a blast there. It was so good. It was wonderful. And as always, a big shout out to TAC Games there for all their support that they do for the Bandai card games in general. So we love you, Crystal and Trent. So yeah, so thank you for tuning in, guys. Remember to like and subscribe and to hit that bell to stay notified, as always. And we will see you on the next one. Cheers, Shan.